Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Kay, and I'm here today to review Beyond the Gates Season 2, Episode 101. Okay, y'all, before I get started, I know yesterday in my review I mentioned something about Season 3 starting today possibly. Y'all, I forgot that they have 200 episodes a season and not 100. So forgive me. We still got 100 more episodes to go, y'all. Because I'm just like, okay, the case is done. Like, this must be the end of the season because I'm like, yeah, episode 100. But I forgot, y'all. They are on 200 episode orders. So we got 100 more episodes before we get to season 3. So the story continues. Y'all, this episode had me in my feelings, okay? And I'm just gonna talk. This ain't gonna be no review, y'all. Can we check? Can we talk for real? Because this episode gave us something that we've been wanting to know for a while, but from 4 different POVs. We got it from Haley's point of view. We got it from Bill's point of view. We got it from Chelsea and Naomi's point of view. And then we got it from Danny's point of view. And I wonder why the writers allowed for the audience to wait for so long before we knew this. So basically, y'all, just to sum it up, Naomi was working at the law firm before, so I was wondering why Bill was having these feelings over the last couple episodes in regards to Naomi working around him. And comes to find out, I'm thinking she was working at the law firm before she decided to pursue her own endeavors. Or she was considering working at the law firm, rightfully so, because the reason why she is a lawyer is because of her father and she looked up to him. But come to find out, Naomi knew that Bill was having multiple affairs with women at the law firm and other women in life, but I think she saw him at the law firm, and she never said anything to Danny. Okay? Then she told Haley about it. Mind you, we see the setup of how Haley and I don't know if Randy had already been in the DMV or what, but I'm guessing they came to the DMV together. We find out originally that Haley's first person that she wanted to con was Joey, but then Randy, aka Sammy, turned her off from pursuing Joey and told her to pursue Bill because Bill had a big ego. Bill was married, but they knew that his wife was always out of town. They knew that he had a lot of money. And so I'm just like, that's crazy. They came and did their research and came specifically to DC to find who they could con next. Not to mention, Haley had a whole nother persona. She was in a whole nother marriage, which we already knew. But somehow she offed that husband. And I don't know if that husband was a millionaire. He might have had money, but it won't give him that he was a millionaire. And so she told Randy that she had enough money to live in DC and to keep things afloat until she takes Bill out. So I guess, when the series first started, I was so mad at Bill. And I was all for Danny. And I was like, girl, female empowerment, girl. Danny, stand up, girl. Fight for yourself. Do not let this man take you through there, girl. Do not let him pull you through the ringer. And so I'm just like, we always seen Danny had this fire for Bill. But that last episode, or a couple episodes ago, when she chewed him out, I was like, go girl, go girl. He deserved it. Let him know, because we've been seeing Bill grapple with the fact that he regrets not staying with Danny. He regrets not being with Danny. He regrets not being the family. He's missing out on all these family events. He still, wants to be around Vernon. He loves Vernon. He adores Vernon. He looks up to Vernon, And so he's like going back and forth with himself, okay? So I guess it's one thing. You know what? I can't even be mad at Haley. because that girl is the devil. You know what? Her job was to con, and that's what she doing. She conned. She's still conning. So I can't be mad at her for what she did, because she don't care nothing about Danny. She don't care nothing about the family. She don't care nothing about Bill. So she's doing what she's supposed to do. It's Bill who I had a problem with. And I tried to take myself out of it, because as a married woman, I can totally like feel everything what Danny was saying, because you know, you just have certain expectations of your husband. Not to say that I went through what Danny went through, but I'm just saying, like, if I could be in Danny's shoes, but as a wife, you know, you empathetic to wives and other things that other wives experience. And so, Bill, first of all, Haley met Naomi. Now, this is the part that I thought was interesting, because we always knew that Haley was Naomi's best friend, okay? But if she was such a best friend, where was Ashley at? Was Ashley not skeptical of Haley the whole time? Like, I wonder if Ashley was putting ideas or saying things to Naomi on the side about not trusting Haley. Like, I would love to hear Ashley's POV. But somehow Haley told Naomi she was new to the area. She didn't have a job. She came to the area looking to be involved in something bigger than herself. She didn't have any family. She didn't have any friends. They met at the gym. Next thing you know, we're seeing Haley around their family. She's coming to family dinners. I don't know if she's staying at the house, but she's always around. You know, they basically took her under their wing. Haley even had this one-on-one with Danny about her upbringing and how her daddy left her mama when she was a young girl. And she said that her mama prioritized being a wife over being a mother. Her mama couldn't get over the fact that her husband had left her, and her mother drank herself into an early grave. So I'm just like, golly, Haley is she's just a demon. Like, the way she just came up with this story, I'm just, my God, on today, I'm just like, girl, this story, you know? So then she's saying how she just adores being around. And so they're at dinner one night at the country club. And, you know, it was said prior that Bill and Danny was basically not getting along this whole time. Bill was cheating on Danny or whatever. Bill was doing whatever he wanted. Danny was gone for weeks at a time. And that they were still together and presenting face for public appearances. And that you could tell that both of them were miserable and all of that. So Bill, or something comes up about Bill's secretary leaving, or she's leaving the firm. And so they only have Caroline, and that they have room for another secretary, right? And so Danny even suggests Haley to be a secretary at Bill's firm. And so all the while, Haley is just, you know, getting in there. She knows she can hook, bait, and sink. She knew whatever. She can get Bill, basically. And so Haley one day just asked Bill, how does he feel about her outfit? And I was just like, oh, girl. Oh. I'm just like, oh, And the whole time while I'm mad at Bill, I can't be mad at Haley, because Bill is getting what he deserves. But at the same time, I'm mad at Bill because you're that weak morsel of a man. And, you know, Bill is one of them men. I'm sorry, y'all. This light flickering. It's got me all... I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on a second. But yeah, Haley is hook, sinking, and lining Bill. It's just crazy because, like, Bill is one of the men that women who are looking for a man with money go after. Just easy. He folds instantly. She's like, oh, well, I see that the other women in the office dress more conservatively, and I thought you really called me in here because you want to tell me that my outfit was inappropriate or something like that. And he tells her that her outfit is a breath of fresh air. Just weak morsel of a man. If I ever felt any feeling of remorse for Bill prior to this episode and how he was just going through it, he was reminiscing, he was missing his family, he felt regretful. They was trying to humanize that man. I don't care. At least right now. Not after this episode. Now after this episode, I do not care. Y'all, this light is flickering. I'm sorry. I do not care. I do not care nothing about none of that. Because Bill literally treated Danny like she was nothing. And all she did was love that man. And I felt terrible because I also saw somebody say something yesterday on Twitter that I thought was important. And I could understand them like before I watched this episode. And a person on Twitter said something along the lines of, they don't understand why Danny is having this conversation with Andre. Why is she bringing up her old past with her husband to her new husband? And at first I was like, yeah, especially when Andre is such a good man, and I'm rooting for Andre and Danny. But we also have to think about how unconventional of a marriage that Andre and Danny has, okay? Just a couple episodes ago, we saw Andre processing his feelings about Derek because of his involvement with Ashley. We also heard Andre have a conversation with Chelsea about his grief and why he was a player and why he never wanted to get close with nobody. And so in the beginning, when Andre and Danny first got married, Andre knew that Danny was still hurting over Bill, that she was still getting over her marriage to Bill, and that basically she had a whole life with him. And I feel like as a person, because of the person Andre is, and because Andre has an understanding that Danny had a full life with this man, and they just got up and got married on a whim, and they decided to stay married, that he was going to have to, it was some things that he was just going to have to be a little understanding about. And I feel like, that was the whole thing between Bill and Danny. And they also had an understanding where they felt like it was always going to keep it honest. And so I feel like there was a lot of times where Andre did open up to Danny. And so I feel like this was more than appropriate to for her to explain to Andre, because she was reeling after those feelings about, she fussed Bill out a couple episodes ago. But those feelings that she brought up, or those feelings that she said had arisen after that conversation, sometimes you do have a moment where you sit back and you question yourself, like, why did I ever do that? Why did I ever stoop so low? How did I lose myself like this? Because now she's in a different place to where she can reflect on the person that she was, or the person she had gotten to be, because she's not that person anymore. And so I like that. I really like that Andre gives her the freedom to even express herself, because it is weird for a woman it would be weird, or would be perceived as weird for a woman to talk to her new person about all the things that happened in her past marriage. But I also think when you have that kind of line of communication, it's more healthier for your relationship, because why would you not want to be that vulnerable about something that happened to you in your past marriage in your new marriage? I think Andre should know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying she had to tell Andre all of the deepest, darkest secrets of her soul, but I do think that she should be very open and honest and vulnerable with Andre, because that's the same vulnerability that Andre was looking for when he was talking to Chelsea about it a couple of episodes ago. He said he always said he hated being open with somebody. He never wanted to get close with someone anymore, because if something happened to them, then he would be so hurt. But at the same time, when you in a marriage with somebody and y'all unifying y'all lives, essentially what affects Danny affects Andre. You see, immediately when he came back from his trip, he was able to realize something was wrong with her, even though she was just going through the motion with him. He was able to clock it, and he was like, let's talk about it. And he was a listening ear. He was not judgmental. He even reassured her. He was just like, that was the person that you used to be. And even to the point where he told her he was going to run her a bath. He was like, I'm going to run you a bath. And then she was like, well, are you going to join me? And he was just like, no, I think this is a moment for you to go sit with yourself and have that moment to love yourself. And I thought that was tea. I was like, yes, Andre, please. Like, you know, there are moments where I did not trust Andre because I feel like something was going on. But then he just does these things that just rope me back in, and I can't be mad at him no more, or I can't be questioning him no more. I don't feel critical of him anymore. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, wow, just to even hear like the way he just comforted her during her whole little spiel, like I thought that was so tea. And then she was just like, I didn't tell you everything, Andre. She even talked about the fact that before Bill married Haley, that she begged Bill to stay with her. And that same clip of her begging Bill to stay with her was running back in Bill's mind, because now Bill wishes he would have stayed. I'm just like, boy, when I tell y'all they chewed this episode up, and I was wondering why they just had this episode right here, because it kind of seemed like they just randomly threw it. Excuse me. It just seemed like they kind of randomly threw it in order right here, when it should have been like maybe in season 1. But it wouldn't be a moment to reflect on if it wasn't placed right here. Because going back to Haley talking to Randy, Haley is so devious. She told Randy that Bill is on his way out. That girl done put a smart band on Bill, y'all. Basically tracking his vitals and everything to make it seem like she cares about him, when really she's poisoning him and checking his vitals to see if he about to croak. Just evil. And then I'm going to go back to Danny and Andre in a minute. But going back to Naomi and Chelsea talking at the country club, they're comparing their notes on how, you know, their parents' marriage was, and Naomi is telling Chelsea how she caught Bill a couple times cheating and she never told her mom, which I don't know how she was able to sleep at night. Because if my daddy ever did something like that to my mama, I'm going, girl, I'm dang near packing my mama bag for her, okay? Forget him. Other words used, but you know what I mean. Girl, we dang near out the house. Like, we gone. My daddy would come back and all my mama stuff be gone. I be done moved that lady out the house. On the way across the border somewhere. First of all. Next, Chelsea is saying how she went up the steps. Her and her mom was gone, or they were supposed to leave, but their flight got changed, and how they was going up to her room to check on something, and girl find Bill and Haley in her mama room packing Bill bag. It's boxes already packed. So Bill planned on leaving Danny while she was out of town. The deviism, is that even a word? That was just demonic. That was demonic. And then Haley prancing around the room, Bill. And then it's Danny saying she never would have left Bill. Bill was having all kind of affairs, and she knew about it, but she didn't care as long as Bill came home. It wasn't none of that affair stuff going on at their house. But Bill had that girl, and they would have never thought nothing of it, because I'm guessing Haley was living with them. Haley was already in the house. Bill had that girl in a room, in a bed. Y'all know the Lord said the marriage bed is holy, do not defile it. Y'all, that bed was defiling that marriage bed. With Haley in her room, in his clothes, in that closet. Chelsea would have had to claw me off that man. I would have beat that man down to the ground. They would have had to call the police. Who? Like, for real. Bill had that lady all up and through their house while they was out of town. Jesus. Ain't no way. Danny, I mean, she flipped, but she ain't doing enough for me. and let me tell you something. The actor in that scene, the girl who played Chelsea, girl, you ate that up. She said, "You whore." Get out of here. She tried to keep her mama from coming in the room. I would have been no more good. Chelsea would have saw a different side of her mama that day, because it would have went down. Oh, I'm not even playing for real. But like I said, I can't even be mad at Haley. I was mad at Haley, but now she just was doing her job. She doing what she always been doing. She ain't owe nothing to none of them. Was it evil what she did? Absolutely. But she's a con artist, and so she's been doing this. But Bill, and I almost want to say I'm glad it happened to Bill, but at the same time, I can't say that because it wrecked somebody's life. Like, it wrecked a couple of lives. Like, it had a trickle-down effect. And then it's the fact that Bill looked Danny in his eyes and was like, "Danny, I love her. I'm leaving you." Tackle number 2 would have been happening. Tackle number 2 would have been happening. I would have jumped on that man. No, ma'am. I would have jumped on that man. And then I would have told Chelsea to beat Haley. Because what? In her room, bruh? That's crazy. And just to think, had they never would have went on it, or had the flight not been delayed, they wouldn't have caught them. That's, my God. And then it's just the fact that when Danny and Andre was talking, she said that she felt like she was a disappointment to her parents. And I'm just like, now, I never questioned, Anita and Vernon. But I'm just like, I wanted to know how they was raised. Because I'm just like, Nicole, like, seeing what Nicole is going through right now, like, I know they weren't shepherd, but they live shepherd. I know they weren't sheltered, but I want to know, like, what were their rearings like? What were Vernon and Anita like as parents, to kind of frame Danny and Nicole's mind to thinking that, I have to stay with my husband. Danny even said she thought that dealing with Bill and him coming home and her always taking him back was the way for her to be a good wife. But then we always hear nothing but good things about Vernon and the way Vernon treated Anita. So I'm just like, did Nicole and Danny pedestalize their parents' marriage, or view their parents as having a perfect marriage to where they wanted to have that perfect marriage themselves, or they, willing to do whatever to keep up the image. I don't know. It's because they was in the limelight. You know what I mean? It was just a whole lot. It was a whole lot going through my mind thinking about that. And so I'm just like, wow. And at the same time, like Danny showed Andre again, she showed Andre the picture that they took a year ago at Winterfest. And so it's just the fact that all of this has transpired in a year. People get mad at Danny, but Danny is still actively healing from that marriage. And that's going to take more than a year or whatever time she thought jumping Andre's bones to get over. It's not just going to happen. So now we're seeing both sisters, Danny and Nicole, question the years that they invested with their husbands and whether or not they should take them back. Now, the only difference is, I think them showing this to us is putting a nail in the coffin on Danny and Bill. Because I don't think anything's going to happen between Danny and Bill. Now, I could be wrong. I'm going to say that. Because, I also did see the trailer for when they go to Martin's event. And I think Bill and Danny going to get stuck on the elevator or something. And so, I don't know if it was like kind of judged up to make us think that something was going to happen between them in the future. Or if it was just like a little plant, but then Danny really doesn't do anything because she, wants to be with Andre. But I think it's over. I think it's a chop for Danny and Bill because now Danny is in a phase of her self-reconciliation, I guess, if you will. How she let herself get so low, or how she didn't value herself enough to where she's mad at herself for even putting herself in a predicament to want to even take that kind of a man back after that kind of betrayal. Because that was an intense kind of betrayal. Like, the girl was living in the house, the girl was working with you, the girl was supposed to be friends with your daughter, you know what I mean? And then you sneak her in the house, knowing that your wife was going to do something with your other daughter. Like, you defend her, then you marry the girl, move her into the same community, dang near down the street from where y'all used to stay. Like, at this point, Danny better than me, because I would have moved out of the house. He could have had the house. I would have left. I would have been the one creating everything new. He could have stayed there. I would have left the house. And that would have been the only thing he got from me. And he would have had to pay me spousal support. I don't know what the adultery law is looking like in D.C., but that kind of stuff don't go in the South. Like, Yeah, y'all, I don't know. This episode, I was heated. I was real heated. But it was interesting to see all of that and just to see how Randy and Haley are playing. And so, like, when Lynette was, like, digging into Haley, I ain't had no problem with it because I'm just like, finally, she gonna get what she deserved for being evil. But we still don't know where Lynette is. Maybe by episode 200, we'll find out where Lynette is. Or if Lynette is really gone. Did they really offer Lynette? We don't know still. She just went missing. And I was really starting to like her character because I was like, she giving Haley a run for her money, bro. I was really happy. But also, I can't wait until Haley get busted. Because who is going to be the one to find her putting that poison in Bill's drinks? Who is going to be the one to clock that all this was set up? And I can't wait until Naomi finds out that she was the target that Haley used to get close to Bill. I can't wait till Naomi find that out. I won't mad at Naomi this because I was on Naomi's neck them last couple episodes. But I'm going to give her a little grace this episode because she was used and abused by Haley in this episode. I'm going to give her some grace this time. But then Naomi made this statement to Chelsea that also stuck out to me, is that her and Chelsea found partners that they actually love and that partners that actually adore them, and they don't have to worry about their marriages being like their parents. And so I'm just like, okay, so even though we've been, and I don't know if Naomi was just saying this to Chelsea just because she was talking to Chelsea and she wanted to say something that sounded good, but I'm going to take it as she was saying that she's never going to leave Jacob and that she's going to stay with him regardless of what's going on. Because episodes prior to this, a couple episodes prior to this, quite a few episodes prior to this, again, it was a cluster of episodes prior to this that I was like, I don't know. There was more than one episode in this, and I keep saying that because I just want y'all to know that there were a couple of episodes where I thought, I was like, Naomi is debating on whether she's going to leave Jacob. She's going to leave that man high and heartbroken, like high, dry, and heartbroken. I just know she is. But in this specific episode, this one, 101, I'm circling the episode, 101, where she said she's going to stay with her spouse. So we're going to see how that goes, because we don't know how this whole thing with Jacob and him grieving Derek is going to pan out. Hopefully, you know, she's there to help him, comfort him, be there for him the way Andre is for Danny, and help him get some therapy or something like that. We know Chelsea thinks the world of Madison. Her and Madison are both head over heels for each other. Madison was supposed to be on her way to the country club because they carve out time to have dinner and spend time with each other throughout the day, since both of them have such busy schedules. I think that's fantastic that they do that much to make sure they spend some time together. Dang, I wish Kat could have been there for that scene. I wish Kat could have been present for Naomi and Chelsea talking, but I do appreciate that we get to see Chelsea and Naomi spend these one-on-one scenes together, because I feel like with them being sisters, we don't really see them spend a lot of time together. We see Danny and Nicole spend more time on screen as siblings than we see Kat and Martin and Naomi and Chelsea together. Like, if a person just came in on this episode watching or seen a few episodes and didn't know, they wouldn't know that none of them are siblings unless they just brush across an episode where it was said. But yeah, I'm sure there was a lot more stuff that I just failed to discuss, but I could just give y'all what I had right now, was fresh on my mind. I'm sure I'm going to think of other things after I finish recording this video. And I was like, dang, I didn't mention this. Dang, I didn't mention this. Dang, I didn't mention this. But yeah, it was a lot. I do appreciate the different POVs of what happened that day. I am grateful that we got to get into Danny's mind about what happened. Her reconciling it in her mind, forgiving herself about what happened, and allowing herself to actually move on and be happy with Andre. We didn't really get to see what Andre felt about it, but hopefully, you know, I don't think this was a turnoff to Andre, but I'm just going to say hopefully it wasn't a turnoff for Andre, which I don't think it was, but you know. I was glad we got to find out that Naomi was actually targeted and used as a ploy for Haley. I know that Naomi in the past has felt guilty about that, especially like when, you know, they got married. It was her mom, you know, she felt like she was the reason why her mom and dad split up, because it was her friend. I'm glad we got to see it from Chelsea's point of view, because Chelsea was like, the truth always comes to the light. Like, I would have never known. You didn't tell me anything, Naomi, but I found out on my own, and I was like, Mom, let's go. Let's get out of here. And then, just like the backstory on Haley, because I'm just like, Haley Lawson, that's the name she tried to use. Now, whose name she stole? Because that ain't even her name. Valerie. But anyway, and Sammy. Hopefully Joe would be the one to bust them, but it's neither here nor there. And another thing, I can't believe that after all that, Bill just so I do my research. I'm Big Bad Bill Hamilton, DC's biggest defense attorney. You didn't look up nothing. You ain't do no background check on the girl. You ain't know that girl from Johnny and you married her in a year or less. You ain't know nothing about that girl, Bill. You ain't check her out, ran no background check no PI, had no private investigator, no nothing. After the wife you left her for help you open up your office, you ungrateful. That's why whatever's happening was happening. Now, I don't want Bill to perish. I do say that I do care about Naomi and Chelsea's feelings. I don't want Bill to perish. But I can't wait until he find out that he was employed in Haley's, he was a notch in Haley's bill. I can't wait till he find out. Because y'all know they're not going off Bill. Bill is one of the main characters. They're not going to take him out. Y'all know that. We're going to see him get, low. But you know what I mean. So yeah, y'all. I think I'm done rambling. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back with more videos. This